evening and welcome to the video series about the psychological test. I hope you learned some useful tips regarding the thematic apperception test in the last two videos. And in this video, we'll be discussing about the first confirmatory test in the psychological test, which is the word association test. Now remember, the thematic apperception test is the basic test in psychology, followed by the three confirmatory tests. Now you all might be wondering why there is a confirmatory test required in personality test. Now remember, personality of an individual cannot be decided based on any one response, or rather based on any one small test. So personality is something which is consistent nature. So it has to be seen at different levels just to confirm that a person is always behaving in a way it is given. Say for example, in the thematic apperception test, the psychologist has got a first set of input about your 15 officer-like qualities. And remember, the thematic apperception test basically focuses on assessing your personality at the unconscious level. Now when we talk about unconscious level, what is there in your mind which you are not aware of? And as we know that those things which are lying in the unconscious mind are the one which is controlling your behavior. Now after assessing your unconscious mind, now the psychologist want to bring out what is there in your subconscious mind. Now the details which are there in the subconscious mind, which comes out more when it is required. And the basic purpose of word association test is to associate your behavior along with the responses what you write from the subconscious level. Now with this, I would like to start with giving you a brief introduction. Like I told you, it is to assess your subconscious mind. Only when the confirmation comes from the WAT with respect to the qualities which has emerged in TAT, the psychologist will be able to come to a conclusion as to what is your actual personality and what is the personality which you are faking. So now this consistency is the essential aspect of personality assessment. And that is the reason for the main test TAT, we have three different confirmatory tests. Now here in the word association test, as we know that it is a word interpretation technique. Here you are shown different words based on which you have to write a sentences for each word. Now what the psychologists expect from the word association test? Now the performance of the candidate is assessed using the following parameters. The first parameter is the number of sentences you have written out of the given 60. Now as we know that, like the TAT, in the word association test, you are given separate time for each word to write the sentence. So that means you have to write as much as you can in the given 60 set of words. A comfortable side, I would say, you will be in a comfortable position if you are writing all 60 responses in the word association test. But then not everyone cannot complete the all 60 responses. Sometimes people may leave few blank responses. Now leaving few blank responses or the incomplete responses will not make anyone's personality as bad. Remember again, we are assessing the personality of the candidates. In the personality assessment, there is nothing called as perfect. Even a candidate who has written a good TAT may tend to commit some mistakes in the WAT. So it doesn't matter whether you have left 2 words, 3 words blank like that. Even some 2-3 incomplete incomplete words may be there, but then no psychologist is going to fail you because you left only the 5 words. Remember, there are still 55 responses which you have written. I think that should be sufficient to assess someone's personality rather than looking for the 5 blank responses. Sometimes it may happen that what you left, those 5 words, could be confirming more to what doubts the psychologist has got in your thematic apperception test. In such cases, leaving something blank, the assessor might think that this candidate is trying to avoid showing his real personality. That is one thing. Second thing is, normally when we leave a word blank, when we don't know the meaning of it. So when you are not knowing the meaning of a word and you are leaving it blank, I don't think it is a big crime someone is committing. So with this, we'll move on to the next one. Now, what are the different types of responses that the psychologist is looking for in the word association test? So I'll give you a brief introduction. So we will divide the type of responses into 2 categories. One category of responses are the unacceptable responses. The other category of responses are the acceptable ones. Now, what are the unacceptable responses? Starting with your negative opinion, personal responses, and suggestions. The acceptable responses are the positive opinions, factual responses, observational responses, and the problems. Now I will give you more detail about how does the negative opinion makes a person negative. How does a personal responses affect your performance? Like this, you will see the individual explanation of this different types of responses one by one, and I will give you adequate examples to clarify the doubts. Not just that, at the end of the session, once I have done with this, I am going to show you a case study of 2 different candidates who have written word association test. We are going to take the live examples and I am going to tell you how exactly, based on these live examples, an assessor forms an opinion about a candidate. So let us start with the first one. So the negative responses. Now, when we talk about negative responses, what is the negative responses generally shows? We all know that they bring out your tendency to look into the negative aspect of someone. It may be someone or it may be something like a situation. But when we talk about opinion, we all know that opinions are always based on our experiences, individual experiences. But not always necessary that you should have experience to form an opinion. We even tend to frame opinion based on the input we get from the other sources. Say for example, a child starts developing the opinion not just based on its own experience, but it gets input from the parents, family members, friends, and based on this, the opinions are formed. Sometimes the opinion may be right, sometimes the opinion may be wrong. But remember, if more than negative opinion comes out, that means you are an individual who is always critical in nature. That means you keep criticizing others. You are a person who tends to look at the negative side of it. Now think like this. A leader has to accept the fact that individuals are not always perfect. We all have our own goods and bads. Now, as a leader, you are given a task to complete, and you are provided with a group. Now, it is necessary for a leader to find out what are the strengths and weaknesses of each of his members. But it is always important that even after knowing a weakness of a person, not focusing too much on a weakness, but then try to make use of the strength of the person, which would be helpful to achieve the task. That is what a good leadership is all about. So removing neglecting the weak areas what a person has got, just looking at the positive side of him and trying to mold him in such a way that he will be useful to achieve your target. And that is what we exactly want from this kind of responses, negative opinion. So what is a negative opinion? Blaming an individual or a group. Now we all know that opinion can be positive and negative both ways. And negative opinions are formed based on the various experiences, various exposures. But if you frame an opinion about a person without knowledge, and then you keep bringing it in different places, whether you are writing in the word of speech and test in terms of sentences, it will confirm the psychologist that you are a guy who always tends to look at the negative side of the others. So don't be prejudiced or biased. Now we all know that the concept of prejudice and bias. A prejudiced person is always thinks about something which he has got an opinion and he tends to look at the things based on that opinion. Or it's a prejudice is basically, to give it more simple, framing an opinion of a group of people based on one or two incidents. Like you reach a new city for the first time in your life, and the first interaction you are going to have is with the auto rickshaw or the taxi drivers. Now one or two people, maybe greedy people who tend to fleece money. But then if you frame an opinion that entire community of auto drivers or taxi drivers or bad people, they always fleece for money, that is where you are being prejudiced. And biased response is something when you are prioritizing people based on certain things. It could happen like you prioritize people based on gender. You prioritize people based on, you discriminate people based on their religion, region, caste, community, could be anything. But always remember this, with prejudice and bias, a military leader cannot be successful. Because we all knew that a military leader has to maintain a balanced opinion about various issues. That is why most of the time, when you are going for the defense exams, the psychologists try to focus on this particular aspect, attitude. So when you are writing too much of negative opinion in your responses, what does it show? It shows that you are a person who has got a negative attitude towards the other people. So my advice to you guys is that try to avoid thinking negatively. Develop a kind of a positive thinking. Always try to see the positive aspect of a person. Don't see the negative aspect and don't try to glorify it. If you do that, you will face a lot of problem. You may even clear the SSB, but then later on, when you are going to climb up high the ladder, when you are going for your future, in the future you will always have a problem in there. So I put two examples here just to explain what a negative opinion is about. The first thing is, like, no one likes black people. If someone is writing a sentence like this, so here he is targeting that black people are always not liked by others. So it is a particular, it is a racial kind of an attack. You are directly bringing up such kind of a negative opinion. Third is, Muslims hate Hindu organization. Or vice versa, anything could be possible. So whatever I had put in just as an example, so don't take it too seriously. But when someone is writing a sentence like this, now why I have taken this particular sentence is, this is one of the hot topic in the various social media, where people are targeting the religion, especially the fighting between Hindu and Muslim. Actually speaking, there is no need to write such kind of responses in SSB. Even if you are interested in writing something, you want to open yourself more, and you want to bring out your ideas into the real situation. then you can write in the platforms like Facebook and other places where it will be more appreciated by some people, but not in the place where your personality is being assessed, not in the place you are supposed to be showing your maturity rather than showing your immaturity. So now this is the one type of a response, negative opinion. Now coming to the next type of responses, which are the personal responses. Now when I talk about personal responses, again these are the quite common responses. Now why they are called as personal responses? These responses, they bring out a person who's more of a self-centered nature. What do you mean by self-centered? Now understand the difference between being self-centered and being selfish. A selfish person wants everything for himself. But a self-centered person, not necessarily he has to be selfish, but he always prefer to be the highlight of the group. He always want to be the center of attraction in a group. So such kind of people, they do all sort of activities to attract other people. So what they do? They boast themselves, like boasting nature. So what they boast here, maybe their achievements. Sometimes they may show the real achievements, but majority of these times, the self-centered people tend to glorify their achievements, which are actually minor when it compared in the real life. Not just that, when you are using too much of personal responses in your WAT, it also shows that your social awareness and social intelligence is low. When we talk about social awareness, a person is having a limited friend circle, a person who's a shy, timid kind of a person, someone who's an introvert, who doesn't come out, is not an outgoing kind of a person. So for him, he has got a world. In that world, everything revolves around him. Such kind of people tend to write more personal responses. Rather, I would say, when you are writing personal responses more, the psychologists tend to think you as a self-centered person. What exactly makes a sentence as a personal sentence? Usage of certain pronouns like I, he, she, we, they. Like this, you may talk about the first person, you may talk about second person, you may talk about third person, and even you are using a common name. These responses will make them as a personal responses. So I put two examples here. One is for a word confident, the other one is for the word courage. So someone is writing, I am a confident person, I am a courageous person. Like some people, they keep writing such kind of responses, keep glorifying themselves. This is what actually boasting is. So the more you boast about yourself, it shows you are a self-centered person. So my suggestion for this type of responses, like try to avoid them as much as possible. Like few blank responses are acceptable. In the similar way, few personal responses can also be accepted. So no one can be perfect in any sort of personality assessment. That you should keep in mind. Now the third aspect, suggestions. What does it make a sentence as suggestion? We are using certain injunction words like should, would, must, never, don't. These are the common 5 injunctions which makes a response into a suggestion kind of response. So I put 2 examples. For example, for the word mistake, if someone is writing, one should accept his mistakes. Now here it becomes a suggestion. Why? Because you are suggesting to your own mind. That means your unconscious mind is suggesting to your subconscious mind. So here it is taken as an auto suggestions. And auto suggestions makes an individual mentally weak, who is having low confidence, and as well as lack of knowledge. So if you have been watching the series of officer-like qualities, there you must have been oriented towards 4 different categories, 4 different groups. Like there are 4 factors of the 50 15 qualities. Factor 1, your planning and organizing. Factor 2, your social adaptability. Factor 3 is your social effectiveness. And factor 4 is your dynamism. Now remember, the psychologist has got a fair understanding about these various OLQs in the TAT. Now he has to confirm with your word association test. How does the confirmation come? For example, in the TAT, the psychologist had found that the major problem of the candidate is his factor 1, that is his intelligence. And such kind of people bringing out too many suggestion responses, that shows that you are lacking your knowledge, you are lacking your intelligence. That is what the first aspect. Second aspect, yes, it could be your lack of confidence. Like we always say that a person who is lacking confidence, he keeps boosting himself. Like the famous movie Three Idiots says, all is well. Now this all is well is making yourself comfortable. Again, something which is more difficult in nature. So this is what actually suggestions are doing to yourself, to make you more accustomed to the difficulties rather than facing them boldly. The next aspect could be you are a highly casual person. Like when someone is casual, obviously you don't have to take auto suggestion. You will wait. You will see that other people giving you suggestions. When more suggestion response comes out, it could be a reason for your casualness also. Again, it has to be confirmed with the TAT. Now the last aspect is your factor 4, dynamism, especially stamina, mental stamina. Someone who's mentally not stable, someone who's mentally weak, such kind of people unable to handle the pressure, they have to take a lot of suggestion from others. Again, it has to be confirmed with the TAT. Whatever it is in the WAT, it has to be confirmed with the TAT. Once the confirmation gets, the psychologist clears one hurdle that, yes, this guy has got some concrete problem now. Then he will go for the next set of confirmation from the thematic perception test. And then he will go to the situation reaction test to get the next set of confirmation. So TAT, one hand, the primary test. Word association test is the second condition. Now you all might be wondering why I am focusing too much on the negative things, because some places I have seen when I was even in real SLB also, there are candidates who write so many personal suggestion responses, as much as like 40-45 responses or suggestions and personal. And some people, they leave too many blank responses, incomplete responses, even 20, 25, 30 blanks. Now when you are leaving too many blank responses, or when you are writing too much of negative responses, you are not giving an opportunity to the psychologist to pass you. Remember, you should give the opportunity. Psychologist cannot be clearing a candidate who is not showing his qualities. So you have to show the positive qualities as much as possible, so the psychologist would be in a comfortable position to clear you. So these are the things I would like to talk about, the negative side of the responses of word association test. Now let us see the positive type of responses which one can focus more in the word association test. Okay guys, so before proceeding further, I would like to thank to most of you, those who have seen the video. And I've been getting so many queries from you guys. There were many candidates who had taken the particular course which we offered, which I'm sure you must have gone through in the last 2 videos. And I'm sure in the future, whatever the course which will you be taking with us, it is going to be more useful to you to know more about your psychological test performance. And I'm glad some of them even called me, some of them had a one-to-one session, and I'm sure that such kind of things would direct you into a positive way to comfortably clear the psychological test. Again, those who have not known much about what I am talking about, so you wait till the end of the video and you can get a link as well which will take you to the particular program which I have been referring to. Now let us proceed to the next one, that is the positive responses. Like we all know that who don't like a person who is positive? We all like, especially when a leader who is full of positiveness, he is always accepted by others. Now, in contradiction with the negative opinion, positive opinions are considered to be something which are acceptable. So what does the positive opinion talks about? It says that you are an individual who has got the ability to see the positive side of others. Remember, it is an ability comes to very few people. If this ability you have got, you can be excelling in any field wherever you go, you will excel. So you have to develop this right from the beginning. Now it shows your positive attitude. It shows how much you regard for others. Here I would like to tell you one example. Like how the friendships are built. We all know that friendships are built based on trust. And breach of the code of trust is something which is against the friendship. The trust is broken, that's it, the friendship is gone. You tell me, there are two candidates or two persons or two friends, if I say specifically in your life. One friend who speaks something in front of you or who praises you in front, but the moment he goes with someone else, or when you are not there, when your presence is not there, he talks something else or he talks something negative about you in front of others. So one kind of a friend. The other kind of a friend, even knowing that you have some negativity, but still he always praises you, he always sees the positive side in you, and he always supports you, he speaks for you, even when you are not there. So now you have to decide what type of person you want to have in your life. Someone who is focusing on your negative side, or someone who is focusing on the positive side. So this is what about negative and positive opinion. Here I have put two examples to explain about the positive opinion. The one is for the word role. Someone has written, "Father is my role model." That shows how much you respect your father. Otherwise, when someone asks you who's your role model, we all have the habit of saying that, like, MS Dhoni is my role model. And we talk about, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Yes. But remember, how many of us have interacted with such kind of people to take inspiration? What we take inspiration is from their work. But then, if someone says that, my role model is my father, my role model is my mother, my role model is my brother, my role model is my friend, my role model is my uncle, someone I've been interacting every day. So that is the positiveness. So such kind of a thing you should have more in your WAP. The second one, the word difficult. Again it says that mother faces a lot of difficulties to bring us up. Now here I have taken these two responses just to clarify something. What is that? In first response, it is written as father is my role model. Now my is a pronoun which makes it as a personal response. Even the second one, mother faces a lot of difficulties to bring us up. Remember, not all personal responses are negative. Even such kind of a personal responses could be positive as well. Now the next one, factual responses. When we talk about factual responses, like most of the candidates, they ask me question, so how much the factual responses we should write and what does they bring out? Simple thing, factual responses brings out your level of intelligence and quick thinking under stress. Like we know that 15 seconds is not a time to write, forget about thinking. But if someone can bring out a fact under 15 seconds and he can make it into an acceptable sentence, why not? So factual responses are acceptable. But then two things I would like to tell you guys regarding the factual response. The first thing is, do not write a fact which is known to everyone. What does it mean? India got freedom in 1947. We became republic in 1950. The first World War started in so and so day. The first Indian freedom fight started in 1857. So like this, there are facts which we consider to be, dead facts. Such kind of facts, please do not bring out in your responses. They are as good as nothing. So when you are bringing a factual response, you have to show your maturity. Bring out the fact which is happening recently, which is happening currently. Bring out the fact which is something related to your own profession, rather than talking about something which you have studied when you were in school. So here I got put one example just to say, like India won 6 medals in 2012 London Olympics. Now we are talking about 2012, that itself is quite old now. So when someone is writing such kind of a sentences, okay, it is still acceptable. No, there is nothing wrong with that. But then, will it impress the psychologist? That is a big question. Mount Kilimanjaro is the highest peak in Africa. Again, you have written a fact, but will it impress the psychologist? It is a big question. The second aspect I would like to talk about the factual responses is that when a person is writing too much of facts, what does it show? Either the person knows a lot of facts, one thing that is on the positive side, but the negative side of it would be someone is trying to hide his personality by avoiding writing certain sentences on certain sensitive words. That is why we should try to write factual responses as less as possible, because factual responses do not bring out your OLQs clearly. It brings out your knowledge, but knowledge is not the entire personality, it's just one part of the personality. Remember that. Now the next aspect is the observation response. Now we all know that everyone is keep telling you, like, you have to be bringing out more of your observational responses in the word association test. Now the observation responses, they bring out your values and beliefs. What do you value? What do you believe? Like we know that everyone's values are different, everyone's values are different, everyone's beliefs are different. But we have a standard set of rules which says that what is right and wrong. That is our constitution. There are so many laws, so many courts are made, so many acts are made based on the constitution. So what is the right value and what is the right belief? Bringing out something of your own values and beliefs would be showing more of your qualities rather than writing the factual responses. Understand that. For example, like the word is help. If someone is writing helping poor improves the society, that talks about his value, his belief. Like teaches different lessons each day. Again, something quite common, but then something which is more close to your personality rather than becoming a factual. So more of observation responses are again accepted in the word association test. Or you try to keep as much as you can. And of course, one type of responses which people keep asking me, sir, can we use proverbs in word association test? If so, how many proverbs one can do it? Let me tell you frankly that if you are writing a proverb, it shows that you are not reflecting your personality, rather your English grammar is good. Because a proverb is something which is universally accepted, they are universal in nature. They don't bring out your personality, they are bringing out a common truth. Like time and tide waits for none. Honesty is the best policy. So what are you are going to bring about your personality? By writing honesty is the best quality, are you going to say that you are a person who always believes in honesty? Maybe or may not. Not always necessary that you should be talking only in that way. So it is better, I would suggest, you keep the proverbs as less as possible. Even if you try in the real SSB under the pressure, you cannot write more than 3-4 proverbs at a given set of word association tests. But then, nevertheless, even if you write some 2-3 responses of proverbs, they don't affect your overall performance. So at the end, I would say in the word association test, how does the performance of a candidate looks? There are few personal responses, few suggestions, some proverbs, some factual responses, some negative opinion or some positive opinion, but majority of them should be a observational response. So if you can keep the balance like that, then your chances of clearing the psychological test would be going one step ahead. Then there are few other things. So I would like to tell you. One is the various samples which I told you that in the beginning, like which was taken from a real candidates. So what are these responses? Now these responses show how a psychologist gets your OLQs from the responses. For example, there is one candidate who has written these responses. Let us see one by one. So here the first thing is running is never the solution. So the word here is solve. So for the word solve, he had taken it as the word solution. Solving, solution, they are all similar kind of words, so it doesn't matter. But then what does matter is he made it as a suggestion response. Rather bringing it as a suggestion response, you try to take out that never and try to bring something. Like rather running, facing the problem brings the solution. Something like this. Failure is the new opportunity. So again here the problem is with the language of the candidate. Rather writing failure is the new opportunity. It could have been like failure gives various new opportunities. Or failures teaches lessons which can be helpful to improve. Anger helps us in a war. Again, a personal response. Meditation removes being upset. Absolutely acceptable response. Then one response which I already gave you, the revolt of 1857 was great in history. Again, something which going back to 160 years back. Brother and sister keep fighting each other. This kind of responses brings out your immaturity. Like you are talking about brother sister fighting. The moment you look at the word fight, you should talk about various things. Fighting for a soldier is something which is engaging in physical fighting with the enemy. But when you are talking about brother and sister fighting, that shows a little bit you are immature. Rubbing makes rough to smooth. Again, he is trying to bring some facts, some scientific facts. Like rubbing the surface makes it more smooth. Rough surface to smooth one. But then again, it is made in a more rustic way. It should have been in a finer manner. A student never keeps his room decent. Never, suggestion, his room, personal, so both are responses mixed. Danger sign are made with red color. Like one thing which we all know is red means danger. Even a first standard, second standard student can tell you that what does red stands for. Policeman takes us out of discomfort. Again, it is a positive thing you are talking about a policeman, but then take us. That us makes the response as a personal response. Drugs helps us to cure from disease. Again, it is us which makes it a personal. Good movies helps us to remove ugly thoughts. Again, it is based on the personal. Never disrepute the parents. It is a suggestion. Not just that, when there are certain words, if you are using suggestion responses like I told you, somewhere in your mind you are not confident. Now why for the disrepute he has to connect it with parents? A bad leader always misleads team. Now here you are blaming an individual, remember. You are blaming a leader. Friends have strong trust between each other. Again, that is a quite average level sentence acceptable. Camping is adventurous and daring. Again, it is average level. Motivation increases the moral or moral values. Morality. Morality of whom? Morality of an individual or morality of a group? So by adding one or two more words, you could make such kind of average sentences into something much better. Global warming makes drastic climate change. Again, something which is happening in the real life. Everyone makes fool of each other. Now we are blaming. Why you have to say that everyone is making fool of each other? You are seeing the negative side of a coin. Guidance helps to remove confusion. Again, why you have to know this kind of a sentences? As a psychologist, we feel showing much of your maturity. But guidance to whom? Guidance by whom? It could have been slightly more specific in terms of the response. Next one, nothing is good or bad. Like this is more of, I would say, something like a philosophical thing, isn't it? Like what I told you in the beginning, in the personality test, there is no good, no bad. Teacher becomes rude for student benefit. No, this I would say, one kind of way of looking at a positive thing, making the words like rude, the negative word, making it into something more positive. Now, whether a teacher likes or not, sometimes he or she has to be rude with the students for their own benefit. It is a similar way the parents. When the parents know the children are going in the wrong way, so they have to be strict with them, or they have to be blunt with them to get them into a right way. So I feel such kind of responses are much appreciated. India defeated Pakistan in 1999. Now again, something we are talking about Kargil war, which we all know. Opposition gives better point to pass a bill. Sister always disturb brother. Now again you see there was one word about brother and sister, now it is connecting. There the brother and sister keeps fighting, here sister always disturb brother. More of like emotional attachment with the siblings. No confident person is cheerful in family. Friends keep bluffing each other. Parents are tense for children's future. Parents stop child to use vulgar language. God curse human for bad activity. Out of this, I would say certain words like number 30, God curse human for bad activity. Actually, God won't curse anyone. We are the one who always take the name of God to curse ourselves, isn't it? So rather bringing out something more like philosophical kind of a thing, try to bring out a better response. Next one, bravery conquers coward. Bravery conquers coward. Again, I felt it was a bit half sentence. It could have been completed with adding some more words. Teacher discuss class after completion or completing. Like teacher discussing in class regarding what? So again more specific. Student is selfish in education. So you can be selfish in getting knowledge. So that is what it means. So it is acceptable. Every problem has its solution, something which is more routine type. Teacher clarifies students' doubts. And again, this is something which is repetition of a number 32. Never cry over blunder. Oh, sorry, there was one thing before. Everyone has to die one day. Now, everyone has to die one day. Again, you are looking at something which is negative. We all know that not everyone has to die one day. But then, why you have to see death only in terms of negative aspect? You are connected with something more positive. Never cry over blunder. Again, it is a suggestion. Loss and gain are a part of life. It shows maturity of a person. Young generation dislike old songs. Again, it's a kind of a negative thing. Not all the young generation kids dislike the old songs. China takes over disputed land cleverly. Again, are you trying to support China? Are you trying to say the Chinese policy is much better than the Indian policy? So what exactly the point behind writing this particular response? Online classes irritates a lot. Now again, someone sitting in front of this video. Now you have to tell me, actually this thing is irritating you a lot, or it is more informative to you. Lonely man gets a lot of ideas. Yes, being lonely makes you think more. Late makes us quick. Again, this kind of a sentences has got no meaning. How can late makes us quick? Every day takes new challenge. Soldier kills enemy for country security. Acceptable. New obstacle new obstacle ready as for next obstacle. Again, it's a confusing kind of a sentence. We are talking about a new obstacle, next obstacle. Next obstacle is supposed to be the new obstacle. Whatever you are undergoing is a old obstacle. Sick leave was the best excuse in school. Again, something shows immaturity. Paranoid creates difference between people. Now that is more a scientific kind of a explanation. Teachers are humble to students. Again, connecting the teacher and students. Lonely person gives creative ideas. Now if we get number 42, number 50, both are repetitive. They are almost same. Nature is most beautiful. Teacher is rich of knowledge. Winning World Cup was bliss for India. That was a fact, but then we are talking about 2011, almost more than 9 years now. Different books have different content. Teacher gives more marks for handwriting. Again, connecting with the teacher. A person loves parents most. Like we know that everyone love their parents. Soldier cares country more than family. It's an absolute truth. Fear is an illusion. I would say it is more a simple sentence, but making much better meaning. Cheating requires creative idea. Again, are you trying to support cheating? So that is a big question in such kind of things. Traitors are punished in my country. My country makes the response as a personal response. So like this, one set of responses you have seen here. Now with this kind of a performance, would you think the candidate stands a better chance to clear the psychological test? Though we are going to compare it with the thematic apperception test. But if I leave all the other tests aside and just look at the word association test, what I have got from this candidate's thing. So his thing is that more of a repetitive ideas coming in more than 4-5 places. He has been repeating the responses again and again, though in a different way, but then they are almost like similar. And some of the factuals what he has written was more of a monotonous nature. And some places his responses are incomplete. They are not making any meaning. So overall I would say this is a low average level. It's not a below average level, but it is a low average level idea. Something like a person who is just close to a borderline candidate. Now let us go to the responses of the next candidate. So there is another candidate who has written the similar kind of responses. The Quit India movement started in 1942 by Gandhiji, aimed to fight British. And again, we all know that 1942 is almost like 79 years now, 79, 80 years now. So what have we learned from this? So something which is similar. We must learn from our failures to achieve success. Again, must is a suggestion. Ours is a personal. Indian soldiers showed anger towards Chinese troops. Now again, you are trying to bring something which is happened recently, but then it would have been slightly better if it is handled in a better manner. We must try to cheer ourselves up and not get upset. Now again, we personal must suggestion. The revolt of 1857 was a lesson to the British. Again, something which is like the previous candidate also written the similar kind of response. We must fight our weaknesses and work upon them. Again, personal and suggestion. A rough surface has more friction, more scientific. The threads were arranged in disarray. Now again, the threads were arranged in a disarray. What you are trying to bring out, which quality you are trying to bring out, that is again a big question. So one blank so far, out of the 10, one blank. We must provide our parents with comfort. Again, personal suggestion, both mixed. Okay, Favipiravir is a potential drug to treat corona. So now it is everywhere it is corona, everywhere it is lockdown. So these are the new terms which we have learned in this year 2020. So some candidates who keep writing about this corona in their word association test, DAT, SRT, every place. My suggestion is try to keep these things to a controlled level. Don't write too much about them. Snakes are beautiful, not ugly. Depends on individual. Like no, his own opinion is snakes are beautiful, but then everyone doesn't have a same kind of opinion. Now 13.1 blank. The Chinese always try to mislead other weaker nations. Trade, you are trying to bring out the weakness of the Chinese. But then remember, this is not a place where you are showing your affinity towards your country or you are against some other country. Here, rather writing such kind of a response, you should bring out much of your potential in terms of writing a good response. India always mistrusts China. Again, the same, blaming the China. Adventure sports like rafting became populous state in India. Again, you are talking about adventure activities, but then the sentence is not making much of a sense. 17th one is a blank, and 19th one is also blank. The DBU road will bring a drastic change to layer geography. Again, something you are connecting more with the general knowledge. We must try to stay calm in confusion. Again, suggestion as well as personal. Now, so far out of the 20 words, 20 sentences, what he has written, mostly the thing about Chinese is coming, or freedom fighting kind of a thing coming, or there are about 4 blanks. So what actually the personality is coming out is very less in this 20. We must try to improve our bad habits. Obviously, it is a personal and suggestion. Children should always have good behavior. More suggestion. No, 99 Kargil war we defeated Pakistan. It's a routine idea. Congress party is a strong opposition to BJP, something which is a quite known fact to everyone. Floods in East have left the country disturbed. Again, we are talking about a particular state, particular part of a country. One more blank here. Magician often bluff audience with their speed. Again, there, the word which makes it as a personal response. The situation at LAC with China is becoming tense after the fight between soldiers. Now again, Chinese is repeated. Almost like fifth or sixth time the Chinese thing is coming up. Men should be told not to say vulgar things to women. Again, it's a suggestion. And then of course, by now there are 7 blanks. So out of 30, almost 7-8 blank responses I had seen. If more blank responses are there, this candidate will be getting into more trouble. Chinese act of standoff at Galwan was very coward. Now again blaming China. Class got dismissed after student completed assignments. Again, it's something routine. With 2 more blanks. We must ask our doubts from teachers without hesitation. We must die with dreams, not memories. Again, personal as well as suggestion. The assignment was a blunder, but presented very well. Something quite acceptable here. We may lose many times, but should never lose hope and continue working hard. Again, it's a suggestion coming more. We should always consider others' opinion rather disliking. Again, more suggestion responses coming. Media channel often cover disputes between political parties, something which is happening in the national media. Accepted. Summers in Delhi were very irritating. Again, I would say, something which is maybe like the personal experience of the individual, which is more reflected, which has affected him to the core. Teenagers often tend to feel lonely because of excessive social media. This is something like a message given to the society. Again, 2 more blanks. The kill switch in bike is very useful feature. Yes, to some extent I would agree to the sentence. The obstacle in life should be faced bravely. Again, it is more of a suggestion which is put. We must never give excuse but rather take responsibility for our mistakes. Again, it is a personal as well as suggestion mixed. Students are often paranoid to teachers' scoldings. Again, here the word paranoid was used in a correct tense, that correct sense. That scoldings of teachers, that some students might think that the teacher is against him or her. So that is what the meaning of this particular sentence. Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam was a very humble man. Again, it is a known fact to everyone. And of course, 1 more blank. So far about 10 blanks. Then you could see 2 more blanks in the last set of things. So around 12 blanks in 60 responses. That shows he has completed only 48 responses. And out of that 48 responses, I am sure definitely there must be about 10 responses about China and other Pakistan related things. We must protect our nature by taking safety measures. Again, personal and suggestion. Ambani's are richest businessmen in Asia. Again, it is more of a fact. YouTube offer good content and informative content. So this is a positive side of a YouTube we are seeing. We must love everyone irrespective of caste, color. Again, it is a suggestion, response and personal response. We must take care of our body by eating good food. Again, it is a good sentence, but then made it into more of a personal and suggestion response. Fear is common and inevitable, but must be faced with courage. Again, must makes it a suggestion. Cheating gives no learning, so should be avoided. Again, it is a suggestion thing, though the sentence is acceptable. Imam Hussain was called a traitor because of his creative paintings of God. Again, you are bringing out the negative side of an individual, like no blaming kind of a thing. So, overall speaking, in the second candidate's responses, so more of his emotions are coming out rather than his intellectual. He is talking more about China, he is talking more about the defense related things, he is trying to connect it more with questions and emotional things like no suggestion responses are more. So I would say overall speaking, this candidate's performance could be considered as a below average level performance. So I hope you understood from these two sets how an average level performance looks and how a below average level performance looks. I hope I have not missed out anything. So guys, there are few other points I would like to tell you at the end of this session. So far what we have seen from this video is that word association test is the first set of confirmatory tests. Here the psychologist is looking for the confirmation of OLQs, either they are positive or negative. There are certain responses you should avoid, like making negative opinion, suggestions and personal responses. You should increase more of your observational responses, positive opinion, and some factual responses can also be accepted. So the more you write positive responses in word association test, it will convince the psychologist that you are a better person, who is a positive person, someone who can be trained easily in the academy. Apart from that, there are other few points to talk about the writing part of the word association test. There are common doubts which arise in the mind of the candidates. The first one is, you should be able to write as much as you can. To be on a comfortable side, at least 55 responses in word association test will give a good feeling to the psychologist. That is one thing. Second thing is, the sentences what you write, please make sure that don't write too much of negative, don't try to connect it too much with the defense, and don't try to repeat the ideas again and again. Try to write different ideas each and every time. Now the third aspect is, should you write a word and then write a sentence? Again, the instruction given by the psychologist is that you may or may not use the word in the sentence. That means what? When your sentence is starting with the word, it is not necessary you should write the word. I would say you avoid the existing word, you add some other word to make the sentence much more better. And then here, like you have to be careful with the language part. Any idea, though it is written, but then it is not conveying a meaning, it is as good as a blank story, it is as good as a blank idea. That means there is nothing coming out of it. And finally, I would say that try to avoid writing responses which are like something where you are using too much of colloquial kind of a language. Thanks to various platforms like WhatsApp and Facebook, where most of the candidates are used to write everything in short form. Abbreviations are accepted, remember, anything universally accepted, abbreviations are accepted, but then you cannot create your own abbreviation to write a sentence. So if this much you keep in mind, and when you practice accordingly, I am sure your word association test will be much better. Now again, to repeat that, so we have been talking about a program which I told you some time ago in this video. So there are many people who had benefited from this particular program we have been offering. So if you are interested in knowing more about this program, So please kindly go through the link which is given in the description. And I'm sure this video had cleared some of the basic doubts what you have about word association test. If you have any more personal questions, anything you would like to ask, and of course there's a place open to you, and let us hope that you will be able to interact more in that place more individually. So I thank you guys from my bottom of heart for again watching this video. And if you have liked this video, please share it with your friends, and then try to get as much input as possible from this video. Thank you guys. I wish you all the best. Jai Hind.